Mate, I have to say, I've been very, very impressed by your Instagram profile over the last 2 weeks, mate. I've been having a little bit of a stalk and stuff and been following everything you've been doing. Obviously, we met each other in Madrid a couple of weeks ago, man. I had a great conversation with you. I was very inspired after seeing you get after it, getting around that course, mate. And obviously, I know we were going to sort this podcast last week, but I had to cancel because I had the Hyrox flu still, which is very
Yeah.
much so a thing, by the way. Did you experience it after, or how did you feel?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it doesn't matter how strong your mindset is on how whatever yada yada, all the things we can chat about. It gets you in the end, doesn't it? No matter how strong you are. So yeah, I was in the bin for a good few days.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
feel for you.
awesome. And you've got obviously Manchester tomorrow as well. Do you feel that the recovery's been good? Do you feel that the lessons from the last one to now are going to serve you good going into this tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually a big advocate of like training blocks and preparation and being in peak condition for whenever you want to be. But to be honest, I'm doing this all for fun, so
Yeah.
I'm probably not in peak condition for tomorrow. Probably wasn't for Madrid. I feel like I'm going through a cycle of entering these mad class events just to test myself really more than
Yeah.
anything. Yeah, a little cycle of thrashing myself, being in the bin, carbing up, thrashing myself, being in the bin. So we go again.
Awesome,
Yeah,
mate. So I've
yeah,
got so many questions because like as I was going through your profile and I was seeing more and more and I was seeing that and I even seen your post today that I went back and looked at from 2 days ago about the 2012
Paralympics.
Olympics,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Paralympics as well, mate, which is insane. Um
Yeah.
so I think from my first question, mate, kind of just going back to everything, obviously, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, how do you pronounce
Yeah. So multiple epiphyseal dysplasia. That was is my bone condition that I was born with.
yeah.
So yeah, from birth, I effectively had a genetic mutation in one of the chromosomes, which affects the way my bones grow. So all my joints are misshapen. I've got quite a bit of joint pain. Well, quite a lot of joint pain. But I guess it's all relative to what you're used to. I think I've grown up with like basically pain management is my whole psyche and my whole ethos of what's built my resilience. I think. Well, it's not for me to say whether I'm resilient and strong, but I feel it at the moment. I never used to be like this. I feel like it's a very long period of growth throughout your life, and obviously I owe that to the condition that I was born with. I've had a hip replacement. I've got like a metal elbow. Um, I was born with a hole in my heart as well, so I often forget that. Like that was a bit of an afterthought at the time. So I had that repaired when I was 11 months old. And yeah, I feel like in a nutshell, should probably explain in layman's terms as well. So in layman's terms, it basically means that like for example, I've got like ball and socket joints. Mine are more like rugby balls, and they're very grindy, and it's like bone on bone. I've kind of ground the cartilage ligaments down, and yeah, and it's very painful. But I suppose we can get on to more mental, psychological coping mechanisms and yada yada yada. And that's why I'm so addicted to the fears, and the pushing yourself physically and the endurance challenges. Because I honestly, well, you don't need me to tell you this. It's nothing to do with the physical challenge, really. It's all in the brain and all the mental
Yeah.
challenges in it. So yeah, I'm kind of addicted to it. I always say like I know the feeling of not being able to do things like I've been in a hospital bed. I've not been able to walk. And when you can take one step, it's addictive, man. Like you want to be able to take two steps. You want to go get quicker, get stronger, get faster. And I guess, yeah, here we are at the end of in the here and now. I can do way more than I ever used to. So I've got a lot to thank my experiences for.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I think I heard this quote recently, and it is you don't have to be addicted to fitness, you just have to be addicted to progress.
absolutely.
And a lot
Yeah,
of people are over when it comes to fitness, the biggest thing that gets in their way is their idea of what it is they think they need to do. And when you're in that sort of chain and getting after it and chasing progress, like when you said there, like from being hospitalized to actually being like, right, one step, two step, like, and you actually see that, like, if this is 0 to 1, what does 90 to 100 look like? Do you know
yeah.
what I mean? If this is where I'm at right now, but yeah, like,
That's the beauty of Hyrox, though. Do you think? I think it's very much you versus you.
yeah,
And it's so inclusive. Like anyone can do that, and it's however you are on your relative scale. Um, then yeah, I think it's brilliant
yeah.
um, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's exciting, mate. We spoke about it briefly, but you can definitely see there's going to be a whole new sort of category for adaptive athletes as well, which is going to be really exciting, man. You know what I mean? And I think you'll be up there.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really have too many aspirations in terms of outcomes. It's more like process. I love the journey, and
Yeah,
I've obviously got a disability. It gives me incredible opportunities in my life. I wouldn't be a Para Olympian if it wasn't for my disability. Obviously, that goes without saying. There's a lot of blessings in disguise when it comes to challenges in life, and that's what I say to anyone who has got a limitation or needs adaptations. It's an opportunity rather than a hurdle.
yeah,
And I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for it. So yeah, I think this new adaptive kind of format could open up a lot more doors and get people into fitness who wouldn't otherwise have got into fitness. So it's not
yeah,
necessarily at the elite level all the time. Obviously, I think Paralympians and not I can't speak for myself. It's not for me to say whether I'm at an elite level or anything, but I feel like it's not the average representation of a person with a disability, and that's okay. You don't need to be able to aspire to get to the world championships or anything. It's just, again, it's pushing yourself, and I think it could hopefully spread awareness and see adaptive fitness even more in the forefront. So I'm all for it, and I'm absolutely sold on it now, mate. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
yeah.
As we were saying when we met each other in Madrid, I think the whole buzz of the environment and the format and the spectacle is not just the athletes as well; it's the spectacle for those
Yeah,
watching. I think it's amazing.
yeah. It's a buzz, man. Do you touch? I watched one of your videos as well. Is it a TED talk that you done as well? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Shall I rewind a little bit? Shall I give you a little overview of my
Yeah, like,
career path so
I
far?
was, yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I'd love to get us up to speed, mate. On like, obviously, I was going to ask there, like, I've got a couple
yeah.
of questions and stuff, but yeah, give me a bit of an insight, mate.
Brief.
I'm looking at your profile, going, there's a lot of stuff happening here, man. Like, give me a bit of an insight.
Yeah, I suppose you could dip in and ask questions here and there, but I guess it's only the tip of the iceberg in terms of seeing someone who is the same for everyone. I guess like
Yeah,
this is me, but this isn't really me as a totality. There's a lot that's gone into you know the building blocks to get to where someone is in life. So I feel like that's very much true for me. My platform was always table tennis. I was a or am a Paralympian in table tennis. I've retired from table tennis now, just to throw it out there. And that was always my platform to demonstrate gave me a reason to get out of bed in the morning. I don't want to sit here and say it was all rosy posy because there were a lot of tough times, especially as a kid growing up with a disability. But having that, learning about the Paralympics and just having something to get better at, doesn't matter what. And for me, it was always table tennis. I loved it. It was kind of a sport that I could play without too many limitations. I could compete with my older brother at it. I was better than him, so that obviously, I think it stands to reason that you enjoy things more if you're good at them. So,
yeah,
yeah, it was. I kind of loved the speed and the athleticism of it, and I was always proud of my fitness, and it helped my table tennis. But that was the reason. My why was table tennis, really.
yeah,
So I qualified for Beijing when I was 18. I did Beijing. I lost in the quarters there, so not too bad. I wasn't expected to do anything or win a medal or anything. So I played, probably rode the wave and just played incredible, which was probably bad for my overall career because I think you learn more from when you don't play so well. I think,
yeah,
and that kind of happened for me in London. So 4 years later, um, London 2012, bit more pressure, bit more expectation from a home crowd, everything like that. And I kind of had never been in that situation before where I was expected to win and all this pressure was on me and all these eyes and everything like that. And I completely crumbled. I completely bottled it. In a mental sense, I think in the brain, like I think I played okay, but I wasn't overly satisfied. I lost in the last 16, whereas maybe I probably approaching my peak physically, nowhere near my peak mentally. But I learned a lot from that experience. So that was probably one of the most incredible experiences of my life, and yet one of the most disappointing. So it's a funny one. Again, another blessing in disguise, I think, because then 4 years later in Rio, I probably played the best I've ever played. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to dwell on shoulda, woulda, couldas, but I lost in the quarters again to the number one seed. And I'd been like number two in the world for quite a long period of time prior to Rio, few injuries meant that my seeding position dropped a little bit before the tournament. So I was seeded fifth, which was mildly frustrating given that I think that quarterfinal was probably, well, you can never say, but I think that was the final, to be honest. So unfortunately, he beat me in the deciding set. I had a match point on him. So I look back sometimes and think that one point in my career shoulda, woulda, coulda. But you do things in the moment and do the right thing. Nothing else matters, right? I very much live by that ethos, and I don't think I'd change a thing. Just sometimes you need a bit of luck in life as well. So yeah, I guess could say that was the end of my career, or the rest is history. But I kind of exploded on from that in terms of had a lot of injury problems after that. Had a hip replacement in my good leg. I say my good leg, my leg which took all the weight, so therefore my hip was worse. And that was my. I realised it's a quick whistle stop story of my life here, but that was where I was probably the darkest times of my life, where I couldn't play table tennis anymore. I'd lost my passion for life. I think I didn't have a reason to get up in the morning anymore. I couldn't hardly walk. And again, I was in a bit of a dark place, being in hospital, and I think that's, as I've alluded to before, that's what makes you strong, right? And the comeback, the phoenix rising from that, is what you have now witnessed, I suppose, in becoming a bit of a physical machine, being able to do things that I couldn't do, and just have that zest to just push myself and climb a mountain, and once you've done that mountain, get a bigger mountain. So I'm kind of, that's what I'm addicted to at the moment. So that is a very quick whistle stop tour of what's brought me to Hyrox, what's brought me to. Probably should mention as well, I don't know if you've got questions on marathon running, Ironman stuff. Like, that's my goal at the moment.
I've seen that, yeah. I've done a couple of Ironman myself. So I done an Ironman in 2021, then I done the Keltman last year. So
Class.
yeah, it's
Congrats, man. Yeah.
yeah, it was and totally eye opening, mate. It's such a big feat, and I seen that, like, for obviously your goals coming into the next year. So that's amazing. But I wanted to touch base on, mate, like, you obviously mentioned in one of your videos about, like, and you mentioned the word like adaptive athlete and then disability. And I also seen in your TED talk where you actually spoke about the word disability.
Yeah.
Going back to being a child, mate, like, what was it like growing up with just the way you were born? Like, what was that like? And when was the time that you started accepting that and, like, going, like, this is a part of who I am?
Yeah, I think the key word you've used there is acceptance. I think I thought I'd accepted that I was disabled when I was a kid, but I don't think I really had done the work to be able to truly say that. So I think it's tough. It's not easy growing up with a disability. There's things that you just can't do. No matter and I like to push the boundaries. I like to push my limits, but you have to accept that there are certain things which are beyond the realms of your possibilities, which is unfortunately, but you can't change that. So that's tough. That's tough growing up, and especially having an older brother who was athletic and tall and could do everything. He was, for all intents and purposes, the best at everything in school, and I was just like in his shadow almost. So I think that shaped me a lot, and I think maybe I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder about having a disability, but I think that can be a good thing and a bad thing. I think depends how you use it. If you use it as a focus, then maybe that can drag you down and you can get a bit down about things. But if you use it as a bit of motivation to fuel you, to really fire you up and get to where you want to be, then that can be a massive positive, I think. And I think, like I said, this is all well and good me saying this, but I think I grew into the person that I am over 2 decades worth of living, I think, and doing things, and not necessarily being knocked down or anything, but people can say things as well, and that's fine. Like, that doesn't have to impact you on your integrity or your character at all. And I think I learned that if I accept myself, then other people will accept it too. If it's an issue for you, or there's something that's bothering you, then it will bother other people too, and then that will just manifest itself into a spiral of negativity. So I kind of used it as a bit of a superpower as I've got older, and it does set you apart. It gives you an opportunity to go beyond, and it's great having challenges, like, because that gives you opportunity to have even more satisfaction and even more success in your own freedom of mind, because if things are easy, then you don't really get much satisfaction from that, do you? So yeah, I
Yeah.
get a lot of personal pride and sense of achievement from being able to do things despite having a disability, and not just despite them, but really because of my disability. I think it's absolutely my disability which makes me stronger. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird intertwining of disability, sport, and adaptive fitness, which all shaped my ethos. And it's very hard to put into words in a quick nutshell. But yeah, I think this happens over a long period of time. Like, as you'll know, with training for an Ironman, like, you can't just go and run an Ironman, can you? You
No.
can't. You have to go through those thought processes, and you'll have all these epiphanies when you're in the pain cave. And yeah, and I don't think it's possible without going through those occasions. So yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah. See, so it's interesting because I was curious because I had this thought recently where I said to Ailey, and it was basically like I was watching this YouTube video and it was about adaptive athletes, but people who had lost limbs. And it
Mm,
was veterans and people that had lost them through disease, cancer. And I said to Ailey, I went, do you think they have a different experience from someone that is born with a disability? Or because if you're born with a disability, then surely that's all you know. But it's
mm.
interesting to hear because when you're looking at it, I can imagine it was tough being a kid, mate, because kids don't understand. They look and it's like they see someone else that looks different and they're
They
like,
call a spade, don't they? Yeah.
yeah, and I can imagine a lot of you growing up probably would have been like, I'm not like everyone else. Like, and it's then you have to go through a journey of accepting that, which is tough, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
But it's
hard.
refreshing as well, I think.
Yeah.
It's refreshing to say things as they are. Like, no one wants an elephant in the room, do they?
Yeah.
And I think it taught me to have no enemies as well. Like, people can say bad things, but that's a reflection on them rather than a reflection on you. So
Yeah.
I think it very much taught me to be blessed for the things that I can do, and give out blessings, because if there is any negativity or a negative feeling, then that's very much a reflection on you, not the other person. So
Yeah.
yeah, it kind of gave me a good mindset in that sense.
Yeah. Was your brother a big influence for you then? Like a sort of big someone that really kind of drove you forward? Like did he always just see you as someone that was level, that was the exact same as you, that was on par with you?
Yeah. Although he's probably the reason I didn't think I was disabled when I was a kid. Like, I honestly didn't think I had a disability when I was younger. I thought,
Yeah.
oh, why can't I run as quick as my brother? I'm not training hard enough, or yada yada yada. So he definitely drove me on in a positive, negative way. I don't know if that's a thing,
Yeah.
but then as we got older, yeah, he was very encouraging and very. He just set the benchmark all the time. That's what I want to be able to do. So I think you very much are influenced by your surroundings, aren't you? In
Yeah.
a positive way and a negative way sometimes. So yeah, he was a big influence for me. Not just him, but my dad as well. So my dad used to play table tennis, so I wouldn't have got into table tennis if it wasn't for my dad. So yeah, I used to think he was incredible at table tennis, and then managed to overtake him by the time I was like 13 or 14 years old. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just think, yeah, you're always yeah, you don't want to get too comfortable, do you, in
Yeah.
life? And my brother definitely made me feel comfortable at times, but then uncomfortable when I needed to be feeling uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, that's good, man. I thought that'd be the case, mate. Like as you said, like about it's refreshing to hear as well, man, that like you didn't even know because you were so oblivious to it. Like, and there is no difference, but it's just
yeah,
everyone's unique and different. But it's cool that like I want that's basically what my question was is like you ignorantly bliss, isn't it? Because you're just
yeah,
like, this is all I know. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
this is how life is. So it's interesting
And
to
I
hear.
think, I mean, it is tough if you have if you go through trauma or have an injury, or and suddenly you have to go through that growth instantly, like from A to Z, without going through all the other
Yeah.
letters in one moment. Like, that's tough, and it's the same as anything in life, any change. Um, Ending my career at table tennis, that was a big change for me. You just have to recalibrate, and it comes back to acceptance at the end of the day, isn't it? Like, this is the situation, I can't change it. Obstacle is the way, this is the new path. And to keep looking back at the other path that you could have been on is probably a normal reaction to have. It's probably an absolutely normal kind of thoughts to have that pop in, but you just have to recognize it sometimes and be vigilant with yourself and be like, well, no, that path is no longer. So, can't control that. what I can control is this path. So yeah, it's easier said than done, though, isn't it?
Yeah, we're all just wrestling our ego, mate. Everyone's just wrestling, like just figuring it out, and everyone's at different stages and different points, and you think you've got things sussed out, and then there's something else, and there's something else, and a new stage, and a new level, and a new devil you're coming up against, man. But what was it like being in the sort of Olympic circuit, like for obviously
Just
Paralympics?
yeah, just on that though, I just actually you reminded me of an analogy which sports psychologists. So I'm blessed to have been able to work with like various sports psychologists through my career, and I've had unbelievable support. So I don't think it's just you. It's not just your experiences which shape you. It is also like being able to make sense of them is a big thing. And sports psychologists said to me like it's a bit like rock pools on a beach. Like sometimes you got your nice little pristine rock pool. It's all very much calm, and as soon as that tide comes in, that wave comes crashing in, you can't control it. Completely screws up your rock pool, brings different things into your rock pool. But you just got to trust the process sometimes, because eventually the tide will go out and your rock pool will be nice and calm again, and that new normal will be found. It might look slightly different, but it's the same thing. And that was just a really easy way of explaining anything to do with like change, like injuries, or injuries are part of being an athlete. If you go through your life without having an injury, then I don't believe you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there are different little different mental gymnastics which you can play with yourself to make yourself feel like you have a good perspective of things. And it's all about perception, isn't it? You have a
Yeah.
massive influence over your perception of certain events and certain situations in life, which means you have a massive control over the way you feel and how you can progress. So, and I'm sure you'd have done all this if you've done an Ironman. Like, you have to play these games in your head when you're on an endurance event, or in a Hyrox or whatever, just to keep
Mm.
yourself going. Because yeah, I think I'm fascinated by the power of the mind. I think it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
So
because when you're in the pits of that Hyrox, man, like you do your first one, or like that day I went round, like I remember just being like I would actually having this conversation in my head right now. Like I seen two folks collapse, and I was like, I would take collapsing right now. Like I would actually take like I was actually going right. I was at my limit. I was like, if I push a little bit harder, I can collapse. And why I'm saying that is because it's like that was I was actually convincing myself that if I collapse, it's a good reason for me to stop. It's
but
madness,
these are
man.
normal, right? I think
They're
it's so
normal.
normal to have
Yeah,
thoughts like that, like
yeah.
little intrusive thoughts. And the hardest thing is recognizing when they come in, as soon as they come in, because forcing them out isn't too difficult as long as they haven't spiraled to the point where you're kind of in a bit of in a daze. But yeah, I think there's a massive power or skill in being able to recognize when these come in and being reminding yourself and come back to logic, because it's just emotion talking at the end of the day. But
Yeah.
it does help to realize that it's normal to have those thoughts. The strongest person in the world still has those thoughts, don't they? So
Yeah, yeah. I was,
um,
I don't know if you've seen, do you follow Ross Edgley?
yeah, he's a
He
goat, isn't he?
yeah, yeah, he
Yeah.
recently swam the Yukon, and longest ever recorded river swim was like 540 kilometers or something. It was insane, 300 and something miles. And he said something that just stuck with me so much. And he was just saying, he was basically talking about like when you're in all that pain and that discomfort, and you're just going and going and going, and all you want to do is stop. And the minute you stop, it goes away. And I thought it
Mm.
was so like beautiful with what he was saying, because it's that like, and it's something I genuinely remind myself of when I'm in the pain cave and I'm going for a workout. I'm like, 3 more fucking minutes, man. If that's all that's left, all you need to
Yeah.
do is endure 3 more minutes of this workout.
Yeah.
Like all you need to do is that, and then it's over. Because
Yeah.
when it's over, like the pain stops. And that is
Yeah.
the like he was saying, like he was in this like world of pain, cold, hypothermic. His body was he was getting like like literally open wounds in his neck and stuff. And it was getting to the point where he was like his body was failing. And then the minute he stopped, all the pain just goes away. And
Yeah.
there's something so like therapeutic and beautiful about that. That's like it's so true, and it's just a good analogy for life. Like you think it's the hardest thing ever, but you're actually only around the corner from everything going away. And that's what I've really learned through endurance, is that like it never gets easier. You just continue to get better.
Yeah. And you have to train that, right?
Yeah.
You have to be in these situations, and how you react will be different to how I react.
Yeah.
Sometimes no two people are the same, so you kind of have to learn what your stimulus is and what situations you find difficult and how you respond to them, because everyone is different.
Yeah.
But I like that kind of psyche. It's very much similar to I like a bit lot of stoicism, like Marcus Aurelius's teachings. And if
Yeah.
it's endurable, endure it. Just stop complaining, even in your brain. Just don't even complain to yourself, because as soon as you accept that complaining in yourself in your own brain, then it becomes a bit more real. So the pain gets a bit harder. So yeah, I'm very much in tune with stoicism and all things like that.
There's a
Question for you actually, Christian? Do you think sometimes you can think too much?
Yeah, definitely. I think you can. I always like so. What you're referring to right now is like self-awareness, um,
Mm,
but without self-acceptance, self-awareness is pointless. And I've been such a victim to being too what I call too self-aware. You're not
mm,
too self-aware. You're just not being accepting enough of where you're at. And I heard
yeah,
this quote. It wasn't a quote. It was Bedros. You follow Bedros Keuilian? He's an American, like basically like fitness guy. It started off. He owns Fit Body Boot Camp in America. The guy's like a mindset business mentor, like really, really influential guy in America. And he runs this thing called the program. And me and my mate Lewis always talk about it, how it's like $10,000 and you go away and it's like 3 days and they basically break you down. And it's all ex-Navy SEALs that take it, like, and they take you through these like deep psychology sessions like during it's like a total life like is that like when you go through anything where you endure tough challenge you shed a layer of skin and become like a new version of yourself every time you do that because you meet a version of yourself and beat that and prove to yourself and that's what happens every time you do it. So they tactically do this through a sort of military style thing whilst doing all this deep work during it, and it like advances people, and it's like very very sort of technical. It's almost like this sort of like fast track sort of like growth thing, but it's like really intense. But he always talks about the difference between pain and suffering, and you kind of touch base on it there. Now, pain is what everyone goes through. So, like, someone can do a Hyrox, right? Like, we went around that day and go around it and have a completely different experience based on what they go through. But when it becomes suffering, is when you try to resist, when you try to make it an option that you can't be there. And it's what I say to clients when they come into a journey. And I get see if I get a whiff, David, of someone even telling me that like they're looking for a way out before they've even
mm,
began. I'm like, you need to take that off the table right now. But because the fact that it is on the table means that when things get dark, go south, or get hard, it's going to be a really pleasant option for you. Whereas if you take that off the table, then it just
sure.
becomes pain. Whereas when it's suffering, it's because it's dangling in front of you and you're like, oh, you're squirming and you're making the pain even worse. And it's suffering. And so many
Yeah,
folk are in this point, and you're like, everyone's going to go through pain, but you choose whether it's going to be pain or whether it's going to be suffering. And he talks about how he can tell guys in the project when one is in pain, like they're going through one of the segments, and he can see the guys that are suffering. He can see them that want to quit, that are actually, and everyone will go to that point. And like you probably done it during the Hyrox, and I probably done it, but it was maybe only like microdoses. Whereas you can see someone that's like going through it, and they're like looking for reasons to quit, and then you see them hobbling off, and then they're like, and this happened, and that happened, and it's like, no, it didn't. Like,
doesn't matter what happened. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No,
So
that's. You can I touch on one of my experiences as well?
yeah, yeah,
Um, it's a bit like the Goggins. Who's going to carry the boats? You know,
yeah.
don't even bring the boats. Like burn the boats, so you don't have an option. You don't have any other option but to succeed. Um, and I very much had a bit of a story like that. So in April this year, I did the Barcelona Marathon. So I'd never done a marathon before. I'd done quite a few halves in my rehab from hip replacement, and I'd kind of thought, to be able to do a double that, like a half a marathon, was quite tough for me at the time. And well, it still is to some extent if you send one. But the thought of doing that again after finishing a half was just like, I don't know how that's not possible. Anyway, we decided we were going to try and break the crutch marathon world record in Barcelona earlier this year,
Yeah.
and I didn't know if I could complete a marathon. Like I didn't, not through my inability to like not give up or anything, but more just, would my bones take it? Would they hold up? I don't know. So we were going to bring a wheelchair. Just my mate did it with me. He was going to carry a wheelchair to make it almost as hard for him as it was
Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
for me. And if I did struggle, I'd hop in a wheelchair and finish it in a wheelchair. But I was so adamant that that was not going to be an option, that I was like, I really don't want to bring the wheelchair. I just don't want to have that
That there.
teeter in there, that little carrot, just giving me the option to hop in the wheelchair when it gets tough. And I knew that that would come, so I was like, please, just I know you want to bring the, I know you want to carry it and make it, harder for you, but I really don't want to have that there. Just reminded me of the option of the way out, just to get in that wheelchair. So yeah, we just burnt the boats and just didn't bring the wheelchair. Well, no, we did bring the wheelchair because he wanted to carry something, but we took the wheels off. So um, man, that was hard. That was real hard. And I honestly think if that option of having the wheelchair was there, I would have probably got in it and finished it
Yeah.
at 16k to go was that's my wall. I remember thinking we've still got 16k to go, and I felt like I couldn't go any further. But you just do, you just endure it, don't you? And I think
Yeah.
if you've trained yourself to just you have to have a purpose and you have to have a why, and we obviously had a very big purpose, and that keeps you going. But yeah, that's one of the best experiences of my life. I think just sense of achievement from that way kind of goes way beyond anything that I achieved in table tennis. Medals don't really mean anything otherwise, do they? I think you
Yeah.
see all these athletes winning medals and yada yada yada, but unless they really mean something, then it's like, oh, cool, well done. So I'm very much in my later career. I've very much been kind of more aware of your why and your purpose, because that really keeps you going. The wider responsibilities of being a Paralympian, not just inspiring disabled people, but just you know promoting adaptive fitness, and that's what keeps me going around the Hyrox now as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think you do a lot of self reflection from various challenges and things. So I'm very much in tune with that these days.
And that's what I always kind of talk to our clients about, like identity and who you are and what you do. And like a big thing for me, and I can relate to that, is when I go through any sort of challenge or adversity, like I not that I'm just doing it for clients, but I'm like, right, what is it that I stand for and what is it that I preach? Like, what is the things that I say and what is it that I do and what is it that I need to commit to do in order to be that person? And it's so hard because even when you've got this like stoic philosophy, like when you're in that and you were at that like 16 kilometers to go, there was probably a part of you going, fuck adaptive sport, like give me that
Yeah,
wheelchair. Like,
yeah,
and it's like, but then you have to keep going and you have to keep thinking, and it's like, it's because it's all cool when you talk about it at the end, but like it really is a hard thing when you're sitting there in the hot locker and you're like, I need to dig into this, and it's amazing, mate, and you'll love the full experience of doing Ironman as well. It's amazing, like really really good. And I mean, if you can run a marathon, you can do an Ironman.
yeah.
I mean,
We'll see. That's still something that okay. It's not a challenge if you don't. If there's a part of you who doesn't think you can do it, then it's not a real challenge, is it?
yeah,
And I don't know if I can do an Ironman. Like I
yeah,
can do the individual elements, but putting them all together, um, yeah, swim followed by a one-legged cycle followed by a crutch marathon. Like I don't know if anyone's done that. I know there's been adaptive athletes with prosthetics who have done Ironman and stuff, but I don't know if one's been done on crutches. I'm not sure, to be honest, but that'll be a real challenge for me. And yeah, what a reason to get up in the morning, eh? I think
yeah,
that's what's keeping me going at the moment. So
yeah,
yeah, and also you got to practice what you preach, haven't you? Does that
yeah,
help you? Like if you're
yeah.
living by these values and everything, and sometimes you're finding it hard, you know, you'd be a bit of a hypocrite if you didn't get up off your ass in the morning and go out and smash it, wouldn't you? So
Yeah.
I get a lot of perverse confidence from that.
Yeah, definitely. Like you need to live and breathe what you do. One thing I've definitely run into, and it's good to have high expectation, but I have this conversation with a lot of clients, but you need to be clear on what your expectation is for yourself. Like what I've really found from my own expectation, especially this year, like competing at Hyrox and actually taking my fitness a lot more. I've always taken it seriously, but like the last year, like I've taken it very seriously. Like, right, how can I chase peak performance? Like, I don't want to just participate anymore, man. Not that I was, but I want to like, how can I really, really be like an alpha? Like, how can I be like one of the people that are leading for the front? And what I've learned is that I've made peace with where I'm at because I wasn't making peace with where I was at. And when I came into Hyrox, my ego took a bruising because, yeah, we've done well and stuff, and it's been a good like first season and that, but it was like, no, you are where you are. And as a result of making peace with that, I finish every event because I give it my all, and not just Hyrox, like what I found even into my running and everything else. And I leave it all out there on the day. And then what it makes me at peace with is that I'm like, I couldn't have done any more. Like, yeah, circumstantially, like this may have happened, or if this didn't happen, I would be here. But what I've definitely found and what I've seen a lot of in this sport is that and I put a post up around the time of it as well, around because the weekend we done Madrid, Birmingham was on as well. And what I'm seeing more and more now is like people putting a big post up with a big long list of reasons as to what happened. So it's usually something along the lines of, wasn't the race I wanted, but da 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 da. And you're like, what do you mean? Like, what happened happened. What you done. And like, but
Mm.
what I've realized is that the success lies in having the mindset to actually be at peace with where you're at and what you've done. And there is going to be times when you do finish and you hold your head in your hands and you're a bit gutted about something, but you need to go through that. Like you need to live that to get the like what you went through where you finished up with table tennis and you went through a hip replacement and operations, like, and then you lost your way. But it was like like what you said, the Phoenix Rising, like you had to go through that. Like you and like I heard something recently on Chris Williamson, and I thought it was so powerful. I don't even having it written down now, but I wrote it down. It was the person that you are willing to take advice from is probably giving you advice that they wouldn't have done when they were in the position that you were in. And what he was meaning by this is that like people are very quick to be like let's say for example you're speaking to someone that's like I don't know they've got the exact same diagnosis as you, they've been brought up with the same disability limitations, whatever you want to call it, right? And you're sitting there going like that, like here, like this is what I would think about knowing what you know now. But seeing the
Yeah,
God honest truth is they need to live and feel the hurt, the experiences, the mishaps, the challenges, the setbacks, because that's their blueprint, what's going to make them grow. And nobody
yeah,
can people can give you advice and tell you things that will save you a lot of like you'll probably be able to give some young guys and girls that are in a similar boat to what you were growing up some amazing advice, mate. But they still need to fucking struggle. You know what I mean?
yeah.
They still need to go through the hardship.
I think, yeah, I think you've really well articulated one of my now coping mechanisms. Because if I remind myself of where I was, having no motivation and an inability to really feel things, like when you're in that situation, it's just you have to trust it. You have to trust it. It's one thing knowing the right way to think, and another thing feeling it. And when you don't feel it, it's very hard to do by yourself. I know that because I've been there, and like I have incredible empathy for people in those situations where they're not where they want to be, and don't feel like there's a way out. You have to trust that there is a way out, and there is a way of scraping the barrel. And even if you don't feel like each and every step to get to the place where you want to be is working, you have to trust that it is. And I feel like, yeah, I think I remind myself now, like, because there'll be more challenges in life coming up where I will feel like that, and I have to remind myself when I'm up now that that is the way to think, that is the way to do, and do the right thing. Nothing else matters because eventually it will pay off, even if you don't feel it at the time. But you know, I can say that to myself now, my previous self, and I can say it to my future self. But when I'm there in the future or when I'm there in the past, like you just don't feel like that. And sometimes you do need someone to remind you, don't you? You do need someone there to be like, you know, you can do this. Like it's okay. Like I completely get it. I completely understand. And I feel like this is me, in a way, talking to my future self because I've got to have another hip replacement. I'm going to be in a hospital bed again at some point. Like
Mhm.
and I'm going to be maybe in the deep depths of despair where I don't feel like I can scrape that barrel. But you just have to trust that there is always a way. There is always a way. So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like I get a lot of yeah. I that's my coping mechanism. I think
Yeah.
it's just trust the process, man. Just keep taking that step, one step over and over again, and eventually you're at the top of that mountain. But if you were trying to climb that mountain from the very start, that overall magnitude of the task would just seem so overawing to the point where, of course, you're demotivated. Of course, you are.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's just my little spiel on that.
Yeah. Oh, incredible, mate. And what Ironman are you thinking about doing then for this next one?
I was trying to keep that. I'm going to keep cards close to my chest for the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, that's cool.
But there's a flat one back end of. You probably work it out in Europe somewhere, but there's a couple of real flat ones because I'm not going to lie. I'd quite like to do a flat one, only because of the time limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not against hills. Don't get me wrong. In fact,
Yeah.
give me all the hills. But yeah, I feel like there's quite a few people who could do an Ironman who just are not able to do it within the
In
time
the
limit,
time. Yeah, yeah.
which is I fall in that bracket maybe just about. My marathon time was 5 hours 44 on crutches, so who knows what the after the run, the cycle the run and the cycle that time would be, and then obviously include the I don't know. I've never done one full out, so I don't know what my time would be. So I think the time limit might be a struggle for me. That's the only thing that which is
I
giving
think
me a
there
bit of
would
doubt.
I think there would be they say every year every event has a time limit on it, doesn't it? But they've mate, see every year at London when they do the marathon and it's the last person to cross the line, they've well went beyond the time limit. Like
Yeah,
everyone's there fucking cheering them finishing it, man. Like
yeah,
because it's but I know like because I nearly never made the cut up for when I done the Keltman.
really,
Yeah, like I nearly like that was a really hit. That's a 200k bike. And when you come off it, man, like I did not expect it to be that hard. Like it was brutal. And then I still had 40 minutes when I got in, but like that's tight. Do you know what I mean? Like
that's
that's
tight in the
tight.
whole scheme of
It's
things. Yeah,
tight in the whole scheme of things, mate. Like I thought I was going to be like about 2 hours away from it, because it's a pretty arduous course.
mm.
But yeah, man, like I can imagine. I'm assuming then the flattest one in the UK I know is Outlaw, which is Nottingham, and then I know that Copenhagen is probably one of the faster ones as well for the Ironman circuit. But yeah,
Yeah,
no, it'll be awesome, mate. It'll be so good, and you just need to put yourself out there. And you need to take these risks because, like, see when you do anything big, mate, that there has to be a risk that it may not happen.
yeah,
There has to be, and like that ends up becoming the thing that goes on, and it's not ideal. And I remember even going round when I was going around the Keltman, and I was doing the math, and I remember going around the bike route, and the wind was just brutal that day. And I had hired all my family were there, my support team. Drew, our videographer, was there, and he vlogged it and everything. Um, and I was actually like, shit, like I might not do this. Then I was sitting going like, I fucking not that it's just about money, but I'd paid for like the Airbnb and like Drew, and I was like, fuck, like
yeah,
this is gonna be embarrassing, man. Like, but that was like that became my drive. Like in that moment was my coping mechanism was like, right, go. And then like when I was going on the cycle, it was like, right, focus on every snow pole. There was no snow, it was roasting when I done it, but it was really windy, and I was like, right, that snow pole, that snow pole, that snow pole, next one, next one,
yeah.
next one. And I've done that for like literally like
Just
20
keep chopping
miles.
it down. Yeah,
Yeah, like that one, Hyrox as well. It was just like, look, I was going out of my mind when I was going around the pro, and I was like, oh my God, this is so hard. The sled pull was way harder than I'd been training on. I
mm.
emptied my tank on it, and then I was like, you still have like 5K to run. It was like, right, 1K, 1K, get the K done, get the lap done. Like, everything's just like, how can I work back the way? Do you know what I mean? And break it down into segments.
Yeah. You know
Um,
you're in trouble when you're breaking those segments down to like, oh, half a k, oh, a quarter of a k to go.
yeah,
You keep going shorter and shorter.
yeah, mate. I
Yeah,
think those snow poles in the Keltman were like 20 meters apart.
yeah.
Like, and
But
it was
yeah.
crazy, man. But
At
yeah,
the end
man,
of the day, you just got to do one step over and over again, and
that's
eventually
it.
you'll be there.
Yeah,
Like otherwise, it's impossible. If you think about the finish, I don't know. There's a power in the finish line, though, isn't there? Like I
yeah.
think. What do you think on this? Like when I finished the marathon in Barcelona, I was done, straight to hospital. Blood pressure was gone,
I seen your
dehydrated.
video, yeah. I seen you
Yeah,
crossing the line, yeah.
I mean, I wasn't in a bad way, but I was in a bad way. I'd never emptied the tank like that before. But if the finish line had been 2 more k down the road, probably could have done an extra 2k. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
There's a power in that was where the finish line was, so that was where my brain gave up, and that was where I
yeah.
was done. Um, it's fascinating.
It's
Yeah,
called central governor theory. That's what it's called.
yeah,
So it's like basically this idea. It's just a theory that like you in the marathon is the best example of it. So when you were at that 16 kilometers to go and you think you had nothing left, that your brain is just like at that point like that I've never been here before. I've never been this uncomfortable. Like, right, we need to stop now. We need to stop because like you're entering unventured territory. But then if you can bypass that, you then get to this point where like your brain then starts to like go, right, okay, so you're only 8K to go. Like you've done this so many times, like that's all you have to do. And it then adjusts. And then basically it's your brain, like your body's like as you said, mate, like you emptied the tank and you probably still could have kept going if you had not like you didn't try,
yeah,
but like if you had to and there was like a gun to your head, you would have made that happen and you would have
yeah.
just done it. And that is the like every time I've done anything that's hard or endured or I've done anything, like I have just like completely astonished myself that like, oh my God, man, like I thought I was done. Like I genuinely thought I was done. And like when you get fitter, you keep entering like new levels of that, and like you build the resilience. But going back to that point that Ross Edgley, when he done his Yukon swim, I think it was his nutritionist or his like coach was in the boat, and he was like, there's not many people like Ross because it takes a certain type of person who's had all of the experiences and done all the things that he's done to even be in the unique position to be even trying this, not even doing it, trying it, because most folk couldn't psychologically do it. They just couldn't, it would be too overwhelming. Like being like that cold, being like that much of a threat, fighting against currents, like being sleep deprived for that long, like the endurance required, the like how do you and it's like, but your actions and making doing those mistakes, like even like obviously touch wood, it's not going to happen. But let's say the Ironman doesn't happen, you get there and it's like 8 hours into the bike, you're like, I've not done it. But then the next time when you do it and you do it, you will be so fucking grateful that that happened
Mm,
because you will then know exactly where you need to be, how to cope with it, where you need to be thinking, like what you need to be doing, not just from like an actual standpoint of what speed you need to be moving, but everything. Like you need to feel that. And even when I went around like the pro recently, like my coach John Wynn, who was actually racing at that race, was said to me afterwards that you need to get a few of them, like you need to feel that a few times. And I totally got what he meant when he said it because it was like you need to break yourself with that. Like I remember being a young guy and like I was not athletic, mate. Like I was completely you were like way more athletic than I was. Like I played
mm,
wasn't that interested. I was encouraged to play team sport, but wasn't that into it. But I wasn't that athletic and I was like, I wasn't robust, mate. I didn't have any robustness. So I had to really go through that, building that up, that overwhelming feeling. And I remember going out my first ever runs when I was like 16, like 15, my uncle. And I remember just the overwhelming feeling of how much running a few kilometers felt like that. I remember it. And
mm.
now it's just like my bread and butter. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like, but like you have to like expose yourself to that and it's hard and it's uncomfortable. It's the same with anything. It's the same with like learning a new skill, learning a language, or teaching yourself to swim, or like you need to go through the proper discomfort and just almost like get so good at embracing that and the discomfort's not just like it's the psychological discomfort and it does get better. Do you know what I mean? It never gets easier, you just get
Yeah,
better.
that's yeah. Do you do a lot of I love cold water stuff. I've done a few cold water charity swims, and that's tough in a different way.
Yeah,
That's pure psychological, and I think that can teach someone to become mentally strong because it's cold. Yeah, it is
yeah,
cold,
yeah.
but the body can withstand that, and it's not a physical test either. It's a how long can you withstand the cold test, and that's that is a bit of a that's a bit of a mind fuck sometimes.
Yeah,
Because
definitely. I started
yeah,
taking this week. Like I used to use the Lumi and stuff, and then I actually started doing some a
yeah,
20-second cold blast in the shower at the end. I actually started that on Monday, because it's just discipline, mate. That's it. You're just exercising discipline, building up, like getting the body a
yeah,
little bit tougher and the mind a little bit tougher the more you do it as well, man. But yeah, mate, I've got a question for you as well, man. I never
go for
actually
it.
wrote down what I was thinking about it. See, you were wearing Adi Boosts, weren't you? Was it Adi Boosts that you were wearing, like your trainers?
Yeah,
Yeah. Where do you get them customized so that like that's
yes,
amazing?
the shoe build up. Yeah, that's an NHS job.
Is it?
Legends. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I
Wow.
just have a shoe and then take them. So like, just for anyone's awareness, like my left leg is quite considerably shorter than my right leg now. Because yeah, I don't think I even explained that. I broke my leg playing football when I was younger, which is what made that leg worse than my right one, and stunted the growth. Yada yada yada, and it's very misshapen and grows off in all sorts of directions. But the shoe kind of balances me up, and is just NHS. Yeah, normal shoes. Just take him to the NHS. They whack the sole off, put the build up on, and put the sole back on. So yeah, but if I don't know if any sports brands want to sponsor me, I feel like that would be prime, prime like real
Yeah,
estate in
definitely,
terms of the
mate.
big. It's a big old shoe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was because is it an Addy boost? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think I haven't got that one on now, but yeah, I don't know. That was the Paralympic shoes, Paralympic kit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was awesome, man.
so cool.
But yeah, mate, and then I think like yeah, there's so many different things I want to kind of talk about, but like one of them as well, like how did you get into doing a TED talk? Like,
That was just through a friend. So a friend, obviously, uh, of having my Paralympian status and doing various social value responsibilities, things like promoting disability sport, etc., etc. I'm also patron for charity called Disability Cornwall, so it was kind of through them that I got the opportunity to do some speaking around having a disability more than anything, and how it is a blessing in disguise. And I think there are kids, especially not just kids, but anyone growing up or who what's the word gains a disability. I don't know if that's the right phrase, but
Yeah.
yeah, it can be an opportunity, can open doors, and it's just flipping your mindset into seeing it like that rather than a bad thing that happens in your life. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's only a bad thing because that's your perception of it. So yeah, I do very much live by. You touched on at the start, like there's something and everyone has something they can't do. So it doesn't mean everyone's disabled, does it? So yeah, just got to focus on what you can do.
Yeah. It's interesting how you can see when someone really latches on to like an idea or an ideology, and you can see how some people it's like they don't even bring it up. Like one of my clients I've been working with for a period of time, both myself and his client Kieran, and Kieran, we had him on for doing a client hot seat recently. We do one of these every single month with a client from the program. We get them on, share their journeys, and um, Kieran's got OCD, diagnosed OCD, not just the OCD that people say, "Oh, I've got OCD," like actual
Yeah,
OCD and dyslexia. And I'm pretty certain I've got dyslexia as well, right? But it's funny how like to some people it will never be mentioned, but then to someone else it's regularly mentioned, or like it's the
yeah,
same with like disability, like and the physical disability or being born with a rare disease or birth defect or whatever it is. And to some people, like it's funny because you actually had to mention in this podcast, like, oh, for anyone who doesn't know, one of my legs is longer than the other. And like it's
yeah.
funny because
It's
people
normal to me, isn't
it's
it?
normal to you, mate, because
Yeah,
even someone just tuning into the conversation might just be like, let's say, for example, they're listening to this in the car and they're kind of going, this is great. And then they're actually like, oh, wait a minute, man. Like, whoa, there is a limit. In fact, like you're talking about like the cut-off time for the Ironman, and someone's like, a one-legged cycle? Like, what do you mean? And you're like, yeah, like I would have to cycle it with one leg. Like, I couldn't do it with two legs. And it's funny because then you can meet someone else that's like they wear it as a badge of honor, and it might be something that's quite mild. Like someone will be like, "Oh, like I've got like I don't know rheumatoid arthritis," and it's just like everyone knows about it because like they've got this thing, and it's not to say that that's not a limiting thing. Of course it is, but then to someone, it's their biggest kryptonite, and then to someone else, it's just something that they've accepted. And
yeah,
people think denial is a state of like denial is like extreme examples like I haven't done this. Like that's denial. Denial is like a lack of acceptance. You know what I mean? Like in some way,
yeah,
shape, or form. So you can be in denial, like you could be like tolerating something that you just keep saying, but you're kind of in denial about it. Like you're not really like you're going, and this happened, and that happened, and this happened. It's like stop denying what's happened. Just
yeah.
accept what's happened. So yeah, like it's you can see it in all different shapes and ways and forms, not just like physical. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
interesting.
But I do think just because it's not something to me doesn't mean it's definitely something or something which bothers someone else. Like
Yeah.
I do feel like we saw that in COVID. Maybe you felt people were obviously losing their lives, so why I shouldn't be complaining about my mundane problems in life. But that doesn't disqualify your mundane problems in life. You're still feeling them, and just because like people see me running a Hyrox on crutches with one leg longer than the other and all sorts of joint pain, and then they're all intents and purposes able-bodied, and they're like, oh well, well, what am I moaning for? But that doesn't disqualify your struggles. Like it's all on a that doesn't that's still absolutely fine to have struggles and pain just because it's not on a level of or compare. You can't compare, can you? You have to,
Uh,
it's all you're still feeling those feelings, so it's absolutely valid. um so yeah, it's an interesting can of worms, that, isn't it?
yeah. It's a big one with like trauma now. People think trauma is like you've stood in a mine or like you've been abused, and it's like no, trauma could be you got like something happened where like you went for 4 job interviews in a row and you had really bad experiences and you've experienced like a level of like now trauma that like you are really struggling to deal with that and comprehend that and deal with that could be that trauma, like that thing that's going on. And because people always jump to worst case scenario, don't they? And they're like, oh, I can't moan right now because this is happening. And there is times to use that as a tactic. There definitely is, but at the same time, you need to accept where you're at and be like, right, this is actually something that's hindering me right now. This is a question we regularly ask our clients, like, is there something that might be worth you telling us that you don't think is worth telling us, positive or negative? And it might be
Yeah,
like, oh yeah, like I'm in a new relationship right now that, and it's yeah, like or like something negative could be like, yeah, like I've had a like some of my works actually like that I was really good friends with, something's happened to them, and like a lot of people aren't really acknowledging what's happening in their life, like circumstantially, positive and negative, and they don't really realize the hindrance or what that could be doing, and they're just focused on the thing like, why is this not working? I'm not saying using it as an excuse, but like you do need to take into account like your circumstances, context of what's happening. Otherwise, it's very easy to just get caught up in the things. Do you know what I mean?
I think yeah. I think as long as you're conscious over them and it's
Yeah,
not just unconscious happening without you realizing,
yeah,
then you can like you can absolutely use negative emotions for a positive for positive then, can't you? But it has to be a conscious decision. Like some people get angry, don't they? They make themselves angry so that they can perform.
yeah,
That's not something that works for me. You know, something that works for me is like to get more calm and more meditative and switch off my thoughts and
yeah,
switch off my feelings rather than raise them and heighten them. But everyone works to different degrees. But it has to be a conscious process. I think if it's unconscious and you don't have a clue what's going on in your brain and you can't say why, then yeah, I do think it's a skill to be able to make sense of them because then you can absolutely manipulate them to get where you want to be.
yeah. 100%, mate. And just to kind of round things off, mate, before we kind of close off the podcast, what's your outcome for tomorrow then at Hyrox? Obviously, as we're recording this, it's the Friday
Yeah,
before men's. Is it adaptive that it classed as, or is it what's the
yeah. So I think the adaptive Hyrox is still in stand-up phase. So the season started, hasn't it? But
yeah?
and in the new calendar year, that you can actually enter as an adaptive athlete.
Oh
So I
wow,
just entered as a men's open,
open.
yeah, and then tailor things accordingly. Like I pretty much do it as anyone else would, except I scale the weights a little bit on the sled push and the sled pull because that's unattainable for me, unfortunately, no matter how strong
Yeah,
I think I am. But gives me something to aim for. You never know. But
yeah,
I do think, yeah. So yeah, I'm just doing the men's open tomorrow. But in terms of, are you asking me for a time or?
yeah. Like,
Yeah,
what do you want? How do you want your
yeah,
day to go tomorrow?
yeah. So I do want to do a sub 145
Yeah,
at some point. Don't know if tomorrow is it's going to happen, but yeah, this is my negative, my self doubt coming into play. I feel like I've had a busy month. I've done Marbella CrossFit Championships. I did the Amsterdam Half Marathon and Madrid Hyrox back to back. So I am a big advocate of not burning out, and I do feel like I'm not living by that by that at the moment. So
excited,
myself,
meditating.
yeah, my self doubt is coming into play. It's like, just I'll try and send it, but we'll see. But I do think it's good to set yourself a marker to burn the boats a little bit, and that is my goal. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But I do think also just going to split it one station at a time, one run at a time, and just one step over and over again, and hopefully that will be enough. And just never give up. I think
Yeah,
it's good. Ultimately, it's good training for me because my ultimate goal is to re-break my crutch marathon world record in the London Marathon in April. So that's my ultimate goal. So this is just training my brain to push through that pain.
yeah,
It's very much a mental discomfort training exercise rather than a physical one for me at the moment.
yeah,
So and it's fun. You have to have a perverse kind of enjoyment out of it, don't you? So I'm really,
yeah.
really looking forward to it.
Yeah, mate, it'll be awesome, man. It'll be a buzz. The UK ones are good. They're fucking rammed, man. See, compared
Mm.
like Madrid was busy, mate, but like you've not done one of the UK ones, have you?
No, I've spectated in Dubai,
Yeah,
participated in Madrid, but I've not done the UK one.
yeah, they're
And
good, man.
my partner's coming to watch me as well, so she's not been to one. So part of me selfishly wants to convert her from the CrossFit
Yeah,
realm into wow, Hyrox is class,
yeah,
which
awesome,
is
man.
another discussion entirely, isn't it?
No,
Yeah. So
That's awesome, mate. But it's been awesome to have you on, mate, and chat. You're an absolute gentleman of a guy. Like when we obviously me, you, and Ailey all met each other, and we obviously bumped into each other at Hyrox. It was great to chat and catch up and stuff, mate. So,
Oh,
thanks
thank
very
you.
much for your time, David. It's been awesome to have you on, mate, and I'm sure so many folk will be very, very fired up and inspired, mate. I'm sure this weekend there's probably going to be some attention when you go around there as well, mate. You definitely caught the eye of the Hyrox Madrid, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I'm not one that necessarily searches out, but I think I am proud of
You
being able to
should be,
show
mate. Yeah, you fucking should
what
be.
adaptive
Yeah.
athletes can do, and
Yeah.
yeah, like sentiments reciprocate as well. Like it's good to meet everyone who's got a bit of a passion for life, and yeah, and I think it's good. It's if I can impact positively even one person, then that's fantastic. But yeah, I do, in a weird kind of way, get a bit of confidence from that because I feel like it's not about me going to do a high rocks or anything. It's going to meet people, have a good time, and enjoy life. I think that's the holy grail of everyone's happiness at the end of the day. So yeah, if that makes me do a good high rocks time, then even better.
Awesome, mate. Well, what we're going to do is I'll tag your Instagram in the show notes. So if anyone wants to find you, David, they can get you on there. But is there anything else you'd like to say before you shoot off or anything at all?
Uh, ooh, yeah, that's almost like, one bit of advice. I'm a stoic man. I always say, yeah, do the right thing, nothing else matters. And doing the right thing is not always the easy thing, is it? And I think if I had that mindset when I was younger, I would have I would have let go of pressure and stress and just taken things as they come. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and that's absolutely fine as long as you give it your all.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Solid advice. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the episodes. As always, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit subscribe. If you're listening to this on Spotify, please give us a rating as well. And leave any comments as well in the Facebook comment section as well. Facebook, YouTube comment section as well. Other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. See you later. Goodbye.